Hello and welcome to Soul Family Chat, where we envision new possibilities for a new Earth. I'm Guy Harvey, your host. And if you'd like to be notified of future shows, please hit the subscribe button below and check the notification bell that's down there. And it's my great pleasure to welcome Richard Farmer. Welcome, Richard.
Hi, Guy. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Richard was born and raised in Chicago, which is not too far from where I am. And he travels all over the world. And he is the host of a spiritual self-growth podcast called Sunday Sessions with Rich, which is available on all streaming platforms. And he's a writer, and he's currently working on his first book. And he describes his purpose as assisting the collective and being the best version of himself that he can be. Well, Rich, it's great to have you here.
Thank
What's
you.
what's the title of the book you're working on?
It's called The Book of Why. I was tripping on mushrooms with my girlfriend with Chelsea. You know Chelsea. I was tripping mushrooms with Chelsea, I think like 2 years ago, and just downloaded the name of the book, and then I wrote it down in my little notes, and then I had came across a how would you describe her? Kind of like a medium, a channeler.
Mhm.
And she was telling me, it's time for you to start your book. And I just started like just writing on it. But the book is it's like a ton of shadow work, a blueprint to wake up in this lifetime, and just little tools to have you become your best self and just be the creator of your reality ultimately.
Wonderful. How would you describe shadow work? And put you on the spot there. It's a
Ooh,
concept that we hear hear a lot batted around
yeah.
in New Age circles. And
So I could say shadow work is just basically doing the inner healing. So the traumatic, well, some things are traumatic, other things are not. Just the issues you went through as a child, being for me, it's how I grew up with my parents, my mom and dad, and the issues and challenges that imprinted in my psyche and my wounded inner child, and all that stuff plays into your adulthood. So the relationships that you entertain and how you are in this as this current character has a great deal to do with how you were raised and the things you didn't address as a child because you didn't know. So it's just going within, healing those inner wounds, understanding what triggers you, why, and just doing the work. So because at that point you can't make excuses. You can't say, "Oh, I got mommy and daddy issues." You're grown up now. You gotta heal and do the work.
absolutely, I don't accept that from anybody that's over 40, for example. If they say it's my mom and my dad, I say, well,
Mhm.
you've had a little time to work on it now. Uh, can you tell me a little, just a little bit about, just as an introduction, a little bit about your life journey?
Yeah.
Just kind of, you grew up in
Yeah.
Chicago, and just kind of how you
Mhm.
got from there to here.
Yeah. So born and raised in Chicago. My father passed when I was 12, so that was kind of like the catalyst into now would I say this out loud, I guess like the beginning of my spiritual awakening. And went to college, dropped out my last semester of my senior year. I was going through a deep depression, and during a deep depression I was having a I guess was like the catalyst to my next spiritual awakening. Because you're always having awakenings. It's not you have one. So you're gonna have a ton of awakenings throughout your entire lifetime, is what I'm realizing now. So the next part of my awakening was happening in college. Going through a deep depression, didn't know who I was, things didn't make sense, just really trying to find myself, to be honest. And then I just came into the idea of like, wow, we are the universe. So once you kind of wake up and remember who you are, you just start your reality starts to mimic because everything is perception at this point. So I was starting to see angel numbers everywhere, and I'm coming across YouTube channels that's telling me like you're not alone, if you're not crazy, and just went down that rabbit hole, and then it's really levels to this. So you have your spiritual awakening, you remember who you are as as the universe, and then you're like, shoot, okay, I actually create this reality. So that took a while to wrap my head around, because you need solid proof. Like the mind needs solid proof before we believe anything is true. So I understood that I can create my reality, but it was like, to what extent? So
What
with an
kind? Can you tell me what age
yeah,
that was when you
this
said?
was okay. So I think it was like 23. I want to say 23 when
Mhm.
when things started popping off for me. So yeah, around 23 is when I really started diving heavy into this journey, into this I don't want to say lifestyle, that's the wrong choice of word. Just this journey of self. I consider life a journey of self at this point. So that's when I really fully tap into the journey of self. So yeah, I was 23. I was 23.
Wow, wow. And then you started looking for information to try and understand your experience.
Yeah, so I just got on YouTube and I just typed in like spiritual awakening. It was just one lady, I can't think of her name right now, but she had a ton of videos. Are you seeing these repeated numbers everywhere? Have you noticed that you've been lied to by society, by news, etc., etc.? And I was like, yeah, that's me, that's me. So you just dive deep into those and you don't feel alone. So then I started tweeting about spirituality, and then you kind of attract your tribe, if you will, because you're that vibrational match. So now your reality is shaping what you're vibrating off. So then that's when I really started using Twitter heavy. I was always tweeting before, but it was just silly young man bull crap, just tweeting just to tweet. You're full of ego. And I was like, when I read back on certain tweets, I cringe. I was like, but that was an old version of myself. So you gotta make peace and love where you are. But yeah, I started using Twitter heavy and found my tribe. And yeah, just been kind of cruising ever since then.
Twitter is kind of an interesting phenomena, and if we can say that we can call it
Yeah.
spiritual Twitter. I mean, I don't really like that term, but spiritual or awakening Twitter and astro Twitter. It's kind of like a niche within Twitter for people that don't
Yeah.
really understand it. And I got a lot out of it, actually. It
Hmm.
helped me with uh, understanding many things and going to different levels and just meeting just amazing people, like you say.
That's
You
how we
form,
met.
yeah, and you form your tribe. Was there anybody on there that you particularly remember that had a big influence on you?
Yeah, so it's this amazing guy named Inner Practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
His account always triggered me, but in a good way. It was never like a defensive trigger. It was always like, wow, I did not know this. Who else? Inner Practitioner. Uh who else? Who else? It's a ton of people. I can't think of the top of my head, but it's a select few. It's this account called the Oracle Girl. Hope I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying her, and a few others, just like
Yeah, I think
certain
she's
accounts.
called Mahadevi, Oracle Girl.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Just
It's a great account.
certain accounts, just because you can pick up on energy on Twitter as well, and you can tell people who are not in alignment with you and others who aren't. So people like those two are some of the two that I've been following for years. That I just felt it's kind of like a what you need to help navigate during this time and during this reality. So those two for sure. But Twitter in a whole is just an amazing place, man. You just meet so many like-minded people, and all of my guests on the show are from Twitter at this point. So I'm grateful for that platform for sure.
You mentioned that you had this experience. I am the universe, and so you're talking about like what people might call a spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
But you were mentioning the YouTube video, and they're saying, "Oh, are you realizing you've been lied to?"
Hmm.
In your mind, is there a distinction between kind of spiritual awakening and, say, political conspiracy type awakening? Or do you think they're both the same
See,
thing, or one's a
ah,
manifestation of the other?
bro, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. So okay, where I'm at right now in my journey, because I'm searching for new knowledge now. Like I'm a bit bored with current things. So I've been dabbling to conspiracy Twitter and occult Twitter a lot recently, because I'm a seeker of knowledge and I want to understand everything, right? I might not agree with certain things, but then other people might not agree with my perspective. So um it all we're all talking about the same stuff. So for example, somebody so on conspiracy Twitter, they can say something that happened in the news was just, fake, or it was set up that way, right? And then from I guess a spiritual perspective, one can say it happened to trigger or wake up somebody, both serving the same purpose, but it's orchestrated in a different way. We're all talking about the same things, um, but it's all in a different way. It's similar to religion. Like all religion is ultimately talking about the same thing at its core, but it's being described in a different way. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm still like, for example, I have a ton of conspiracy theorists on the show as well, and I don't judge anybody. I just want to understand like why what's the root, because there's a message in everything. So I'm just curious to like just to learn new information and take nicks and tips. But we're all saying the same thing. We're literally all saying the same thing.
Sure. You're close to having done 100 podcasts, I believe.
I'm on like 80. Today I'm dropping. So today's episode is episode 85. I'm doing a guided meditation. So I'm doing something different. And yeah, honestly, because I remember I think I was probably like 20 episodes ago. You was just like you had either messaged me or tweeted, but it was basically like, wow, this many episodes. And honestly, it just goes by after a while. When I first started, I drop episodes every Sunday, and it doesn't feel like a chore. So when you're doing something that doesn't feel like a chore, it's a passion, and you're using this as a well, my purpose with creating the Sunday sessions with the Rich was to create a uh positive news station, if you will. So we got enough negative stuff in the media. I want to create a platform and an outlet where people can come to remind them of the divinity. So after certain episodes, you keep falling more in love with it, and you realize this, it's kind of, I feel like now it's just my duty to keep this thing going. And we look up and we're on episode 85. I still don't know how we got this far, but people find me interesting still. So I'm grateful.
I'm really impressed with your consistency and just your follow through. That you just keep doing it every Sunday, and it reminds me of a story that I love to share about the Chinese bamboo. Chinese bamboo, you have to keep watering it every week for several years. I think it's like 4 years, and nothing happens. Something's in the ground, and you're pouring water on it, and you don't see anything. And then I think it's in the fourth year. Somebody can correct me in the comments if it's the fifth year or the third year. It doesn't matter really. But after some time, then it grows like 50 feet in 6 weeks. But you can't get to that phenomenal growth without doing this every day or every week, this consistency. And I think you being regular with your podcast is a great example of this. And I'm sure many great things will come out of this. There's a gentleman in our town that has a podcast, and he started 10 years ago, and I think he's averaged about 50 a year, and over 10 years, and now he has 70,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Crazy.
But he couldn't get to that without doing it
the consistency
every week. And I think it's a metaphor for other areas of life. It is the consistent application of habits. And actually, the destructive side of our life is also the consistent application of negative habits. Do you agree with that?
No, I agree with that 1,000%, because it's easy to fall into negative habits. Like you can, like for example, if you spend the most weekends not doing nothing, and you do that for, let's say, 2 months, your body's accustomed to not doing anything on the weekends. And when you try to adopt a new habit, your mind and body's going to create excuses for you not to do it, because you're in that habitual habit. So now I'm in a stage of my life where it's like, whatever I'm doing, I have to be consistent. Otherwise, there's no point in me doing it. If I'm gonna half-ass it, there's no point in me doing it. So when I first started this podcast, I said, okay, you have to be consistent, because if you're going to create traction and get your name out there, get your brand out there, you have to be consistent. So you have to post episodes every Sunday. Because then you have, because it's like your favorite show, right? If you have your favorite show comes on every week, you're expecting that to, right? You're looking forward to it. And I have people who are looking forward to my episodes. So no, I can't let those people down now, because I've built this amazing audience with a bunch of amazing people. And so now it's just, however this, I don't know what this is going to take me, but I have to be consistent. And if I'm at like 3,000 podcast episodes at one day, then we're just at 3,000 podcast episodes, and that's just what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that one of the most powerful things that any of us can do in our life is to express ourselves. And many of us have had our, kind of throat chakras shut down from, like you mentioned it, from your childhood. I mean, when I was at school, they used to say, shut up, Harvey, shut up all the time. So, okay. So my voice is not worth anything, right? That's what they would say. That's how probably I internalized as a child, and so forth. So when you're doing a podcast, just you're getting out there and you're taking what's inside and bringing it outside, and I think that's a powerful experience. And just can you speak to that? How do you feel it's transformed you, like on the inside, kind of by having all these guests on and doing all these shows?
It's a wonderful, like, for example, it's people. Okay, you follow people on Twitter, right? You don't know that much about them. You only know, you can only go about what they tweet, right? So when you have these people on the show, you actually get to know them as a person. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about it, is you build friendships, right? And that I wouldn't have had that opportunity if it wasn't for my podcast. And it's people who need to hear this information, and I feel like it's my duty to give back information like the ones who I listened to gave to me. And it's a cool experience. Like when you see people commenting that, this is the highlight of their week. I had somebody comment I think it was last month, that they were starting to run to my podcast. And I was like, what? Like, you don't think you're making an impact. Like, you see the numbers of who's listening every week or, every month, but you don't know to what impact, right? So when I hear that or I see that, it just makes me remember why I started this podcast. So it brings everything back full circle. But I don't know. This journey is amazing. I love podcasting. It allowed me to, because I've always been vocal, but you talk with your friends, right? You talk with like-minded people. You can only tweet so much, but my podcast allows me to express myself. Oh, and what it taught me was as well is to not judge others' opinions, because we all have, free will. So whatever you think is going to be true, because that's what your reality is shaping. So it helped me and taught me to listen to others and just listen to learn. When I have guests on, if they'll say, "Oh, oh, I'm sorry, I've been talking for like 15 minutes." I'm like, "That you were supposed to talk for 15 minutes. We were supposed to, listen to you, and I'm supposed to learn something from this. So, don't do that." So, it just allowed me to just listen and okay, you're a messenger. I had you on the show for a reason. You're a messenger. So whoever's listening to this, it's a reason for it. So it taught me some life skills too. Taught me some life skills. I don't have to argue with you. We don't have to agree, but whoever's supposed to understand your message, because you can say something that might resonate. You might word it differently than me, and it helps somebody versus how I phrased it. So it's cool. It's a really cool experience.
I like what you said about the connections and developing the friendships. I mean, this is probably the third collaboration that you and I have done, and I feel a deeper connection with you because we've done this collaboration. And I did some shows, Soul Family Chat that I was doing. It's not just a podcast. Sometimes I did sort of more like a sacred circle, and people come
Yeah, I remember
together and
that.
chat. And the people I had on those events in the early days, it was a few years ago, really created a deep bond with those people, just having them on. And so absolutely I agree with what you're saying there. Tell me, maybe this is a hard question.
No,
Maybe it's not a fair question, but is there one guest that like, wow, that kind of really blew your mind, or is there anyone that comes to mind?
uh okay, no, it's one that's no,
I
it's
mean,
two actually.
it's not fair to the other 79 who've been on the show, because I'm sure they're all awesome, but it's
Two episodes, I will say. So one episode was with a phenomenal author and speaker named Gordana Beardnot. Bernot. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Gordana.
yes, yeah, I know, yeah,
She
I know of her, yeah.
that was really the highlight of my my experience so far. If anyone doesn't know her, she's one of Oprah's super soul teachers. Amazing. So I just an amazing and lovely person. I had reached out on and anyone who's in podcast or just want to be in podcast. Honestly, what I do, I just reach out to people, and you either gonna ignore me or say no, or just just it is what it is. But I reached out to her, and she agreed, but we couldn't do it for like half the year.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, she reached out to me via email and, seeing we can, schedule a time. And when we did the episode, I was like, whoa, like this is one of like the coolest episodes. Cause it was kind of like not kind of like when I made it moment, but it was just a testimony to your hard work. If I didn't have X amount of episodes out, would she have been interested? If I only had like two or three, but when you see when you see the catalog of episodes, it shows your hard work and consistency. So that episode was definitely one of my favorites. And then another one with Inner Practitioner, because the way he breaks down emotions and just your energy period is one of the two episodes that, because I don't like listening to my voice sometimes. So those are only two episodes I can go back and listen to and not cringe about whatever I'm saying, because I still find messages in those episodes. So it's definitely helpful for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. When when do you think you'll have the book ready?
So okay, I'm taking half the month off. So this is my last week of work this upcoming week. So I'm taking the last half of the month off, microdose on some shrooms and just, rock this thing out. So I'm not putting a timeline on myself, but it definitely will be out in its full form sometime in January. So um I'm just putting my head down, because to be honest with you, guy, I took a break from this book because I couldn't face myself. To be honest with you, I'm very vulnerable, very raw in this book. I tell my story, and I tell the ugly. I share a lot of the ugly, because it's one thing I've noticed. People always highlight the best parts, right? But they never highlight the negative parts, like the origin of it all. And people don't want to always hear about the love and light. They wanna know the nitty gritty and how you mentally and overcame it and what you did to overcome it. Because a lot of people are going through similar things. So yeah, my focus is to put my head down, work on this book. I'm a perfectionist. I want to make sure everything is squeaky clean, and get this thing out next month. And let's just change the world.
Yeah, you mentioned the gritty stuff. Is there experience that you could talk about, like something very difficult that you overcame?
1,000%. So I didn't have the best relationship with my mom at all. I was very resentful of her for the longest time as a child. So when my dad transitioned, um, I use the word transition because we don't die. Our soul just, goes back to where we came from. So when he transitioned, really tough place, man. You don't have a father figure, so your mom is picking up a lot of slack. So I didn't have the proper environment and resources to heal. So you suppress everything, right? And then you just lash out on everybody. So you nitpicking about every little thing that she does. But coming full circle, I realized she did the freaking best she could. And I freaking love that woman. Like, I couldn't imagine You raising 2 kids by yourself. You're depressed yourself, and you putting on a strong face so that we don't see that. That is love, and that's power, and that's courage. And I freaking love that woman. But before, I resent her. And so one situation in particular, we was in we bounced between shelters and hotels for a good year or two, I would say. In one instance, she had a friend, um, not a like boyfriend, it's like a fake lady friend, if you will, that just wasn't good for her. And the lady friend, she abused me one time, and I went to my mom crying, like, what are you gonna do? And she didn't do anything. So when I was doing some inner healing work, I realized that was the pinpoint that made me resent her, because I'm like, you didn't protect me. So yeah, I could go without talking to my mom for half a year, and wouldn't bat an eye, kind of thing. And a lot of my present day relationships, or just how I approach things, stem from my mom. So healing that relationship has helped me heal with her. And now I love that lady. I love just catching up with her and just chatting, and she's funny as hell. And just, guys, if you're resentful towards a parent or whatever, you have to look at it from their perspective, right? What were they going through at that time, right? Our parents only know from what they parents taught them, right? So my mom, she wasn't emotionally available because her mom wasn't emotionally available. So she wasn't gonna be emotionally available for me, right? So now that I, oh shoot, I have a cat, and so my cat, you can hear noise. She's just doing cat stuff. Um, but if it wasn't for me knowing that, um, I wouldn't be here where I am today. So forgive whoever hurt you, and just understand the root of their program. Everything is programming, and once you understand that programming, you don't take things serious anymore. You don't take it personal because you understand it. You can see their inner child, and then in that turn, you can help them, just having these conversations of just being aware. So it's powerful stuff, man. It's ugly. Don't get me wrong, guy, but it's some powerful stuff.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear you talk about that our parents, that they've been under programming. And we were talking earlier about conspiracy theory, and I mean, most of us now that have a certain level of awakening, we have a pretty good idea of the collective oppression and abuse that the whole matrix system is putting on human beings. I mean,
Yep.
it's in fact, the whole matrix is an abusive, it's an abusive system
It's designed that way.
from the day you're born, conditioning and programming. And what I listen to people on Twitter and social media and so forth, and they're attacking the boomers and this and that, and all that. That's just another freaking psyop, just
Yeah,
putting the young against the old,
another division tactic.
vice versa. I mean, do they have any idea what what it's like to go through the full arc of life under that kind of pressure that the matrix
Exactly.
has designed to control and abuse you? And uh, yeah, and yeah, I'm just glad that you brought attention to that. I mean, this intergenerational thing, I mean, I think it will heal, but I think it is a
Mhm.
psyop, and I think it's been deliberately done. I mean, the families have been destroyed.
1000%.
Families have been destroyed, and um, they don't want, the they, or whatever you want to call it. They don't want them.
Mhm.
They don't want the parents to raise the kids. They want to raise the
Mhm.
kids through the social media and the networks and the
Mhm.
Hollywood and the programming. And because once they get the parents out of the way, they can they can
Easily
mold.
programmable.
Yeah, they can program the
Easily
kids the
programmable.
way they want.
One thing I've noticed too, so we all you're here for a reason, you're here for a purpose. Me and my mom, in the soul level, we agreed to come here. We agreed to have this relationship for her to whatever lessons I'm supposed to learn or help me grow and expand, and vice versa. We decided to come here and experience that. My two cats, we had a contract to come here, and I was supposed to get my first cat randomly, and that's my little baby. But once you understand, you know, triggers and things that challenge you are meant to help you expand. The question is, what am I supposed to learn from this? So when you instead of doing woe is me, why is this happening to me? Well, there's no coincidences. We both know if you run across somebody you haven't spoken with in 4 years, there's no coincidence you guys linked up, right? You're supposed to link back up at that time for whatever reason, right? It's the same thing with same thing with the people in your life. It's just, what am I supposed to learn from this? What can I take from this? Because if you look at it like this, an old chapter is dying so a new chapter can begin. If this didn't happen to this magnitude, you wouldn't have that newfound awareness and you wouldn't be the person you are moving forward. So you needed that contrast, I call it contrast, to show you what your new reality is going to look like. So express gratitude and then empower yourself to move forward. That's the creator.
Yes, yeah, everything leads to the next thing. And without one particular experience, we couldn't have gotten to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that cycle of life, destructive and creative, and we don't get to experience the creative expansion without the destruction.
Exactly. Because
But we like, but excuse me, we just like to, but
no,
we prefer to say, oh yeah, we love the expansive part, we don't like the destructive part, but they're
you
both equal.
you need both. Like for example, you you lose your wallet, you're gonna be pissed, right? Let's be honest, you're gonna be pissed. But what did you learn? What did you learn from experience? What happened after that experience? So it's just like you have to. It makes life more enjoyable because you don't take crap serious. Like view life in the eyes of a child, which means just with curiosity, carefree, and just lightness. And when you can approach life like that, you can, yeah, you go be pissed off. I get pissed off about stuff, but then you know how to navigate and pivot because you have to bring yourself back. Am I going to allow this vibration to carry on throughout the day? If I allow this vibration to carry on throughout the day, more things are going to manifest in my reality to, mirror that vibration. Or it happened, I was supposed to slow down. That's probably why this happened to me. It made me look at the stars and realize, wow, is that an alien spaceship actually up there? I don't know. But if it wasn't for that moment, it wouldn't have happened. So I live my life that way because life's too short, man. And we came here to have fun and create our best reality. And no, I'm not. I'm just. I live a very optimistic life. So that's just always been my default even before I had my spiritual awakening.
Oh, that's beautiful. I had an interesting experience yesterday. I wanted to go and do some shopping at a particular store. It's out in the countryside. It's kind of in deep rural Ireland. It's run by Mennonites. It's called the Dutchman store. It's a very interesting store, and I wanted to get some extra supplies there. Plus, it's a beautiful drive out in the country there. And I've only been there a few times, but I was driving along, and I said, "Wow!" And I had to get there before it closed at 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, all of a sudden I noticed, wow, I'm just driving on this plain straight road, and I think I passed the town, and then I saw the county line for the next county, and I said, oh yeah, I've missed it. But there
Mm-hmm.
was this. It was one of the most amazing sunsets that I've ever seen in Iowa, and I was on. It was sort of. It was almost like just like a flat plain, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just the whole sky. They say in Iowa the best scenery is in the sky,
Mm-hmm.
and there's I'm not gonna make it to the store. I'm not gonna have. By the time I turn around, it's gonna be closed.
Yeah.
This is why I overshot, because it was just where I was. The vista and everything was perfect for this
Mm-hmm.
amazing sunset. And then
You
I
were supposed to
turned
see that sunset.
yeah. Then I turned around and I kind of floored it a bit, and I got to the store like 10 minutes before it closed, and it was like 15 minutes after by the time I checked out. They started flashing the lights. So I got it all done, but it was just, you know, and I was really, really, really wanted to go to that store. It's really important to
Yeah.
me. But they gave me the universe gave me the sunset.
Yeah.
So you never
You
know.
need
You never know.
you
Like you never know.
I guess that was kind of slow down in a sense and look at this beautiful thing and then okay, you can still go to the store. You just had a
Yeah.
little pause moment.
Yeah, I mean, people. There's this experience people have sometimes. They're looking for a particular restaurant and they get lost and they end up
Hmm.
down a side street and
You were supposed to. You were
yeah,
supposed to go down that path.
and
You
you
were
find
supposed
a
to go down
better
that path.
one.
Exactly. Found a better one because that's the thing with life. You think that we have an idea of how we want things to go, but what actually happens for us was even 10 times better than what we have vision for ourselves. So my key thing has been surrender. Just if something happens, it was supposed to happen, surrender. Now I'm excited to see why it happened this way now. So it's kind of like a little game you play with yourself, like, ooh, what am I what's supposed to happen now?
Yes, yes, because the inner guidance is so much deeper than what the mind is interpreting at the
Mm-hmm.
mind level, what the mind thinks it wants. And
Exactly.
yeah, I have a friend that her husband just passed away, and she was kind of
Oh,
asking me why they had such a great relationship and they had all these plans, and she just moved over to Europe to be with him.
oh,
And it's a really, yeah, it's a really difficult one.
that's tough. Yeah,
I mean,
because some things you
what
can't
do you
throw
say
it.
to someone like in that situation?
Yeah, you can't. I don't know situations like those. You it's a tough one. Honestly, you can't always give spiritual info in those moments. Like people don't want to hear that. Like maybe
Yeah,
his contract was up. Like people
yeah,
don't want to hear that. Like you just have to be a human in that moment and just be there for them. And that's just the best thing you can do at that time.
yeah. I mean, I think that's what I would say. It's just some things are not comprehensible, but
Yeah.
but yeah, because you were mentioning context and things like that. I mean, the certain experiences are only destined for a certain amount of time.
Hmm.
Maybe we graduate from those experiences, and
Yep.
all these other experiences are kind of relative on the relative expression of life. And but it's a tough one. And for
It's
me, I
a
mean,
tough
the
one.
older I get, the more experience I've been through. So I've been through more of the arc of life like this.
Hmm. It's like ebbs and flow of life.
Yeah. I think for young people, like this current period,
Hmm.
I think it's harder in a way than older people because they're looking at their whole life in front of them.
Hmm.
And there's some really scary shit going on in the news.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, well, what do I have to look forward to?
Hmm.
I'm kind of like, I've had some really amazing experiences and I'd like to be here for a lot longer.
Hmm.
However, I've had my experiences. So um, how do you feel about that? I mean, you said you're optimistic. I mean, you're in
Hmm.
the mid phase of your life and um, or early, you,
So I'll be 30 next year. So I'm at the kind of like the prime of my years, I guess. I
yeah.
don't
So
know.
you before the mid,
Yeah.
but you're kind of at the tail end of your youth, right? You're moving
Yes,
into
it's
midlife. Yeah,
bit scary, but exciting. No, I don't know because I don't watch the news, as you know, but I'm aware of what's going on. Um, it's I look, it's one the news can tell you that it's dangerous outside, right? But if I look outside, I see a kid playing with the ball, laughing with the parents. So in my reality, the world isn't a scary place. But so someone who's adopting that program and the world will be a scary place. So I'm just very mindful of what I'm taking in, but I'm also not naive too, um, especially with what's going on. But I just choose to think right now that all of these things are happening to awaken the collective, and when I keep that mindset, you just look at everything as a stage, as a play. As consciousness, you're neither good or bad. You're just the neutral point, because these labels, who's to say what's good is good and what's bad is all perspective, right? So those politicians or the evil mainstream media puppets, their consciousness as well, playing their role to help you expand. If it wasn't for somebody saying some outlandish things, you wouldn't have questioned or batted an eye or say, something doesn't make sense. So I hold on to that idea when I catch myself slipping into the matrix a bit, because I pull myself back out, and I just look at life like that right now. Um, and then I know I came here to assist the collective during this transition and awakening. Um, and so we just go ride this wave and keep living our best life.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, that they play a role. And I've heard, for example, it's like the harder the system pushes, the faster the people wake up. So it's counterintuitive. I guess it's sad in a way that it has to get more intense for people to wake up. I mean, you'd think by now there's enough out there for people to wake up. But I do notice it comes in waves, like like, for example, they just announced the new scariant, the scariant, and I think it's the moronic, isn't it? It's an anagram. It's moronic. I'm not even going to. I don't like to use the names that the system is using, because they have programming in them. But I noticed the number of people are just saying, "No, we're just not buying this anymore. We're just not buying it."
They just talked about the last one. I could have sworn a couple months ago now. And then you have to question, like, how did you even test for this? Right? How did you even know how to test for this? And how do you know the name of it? Our first podcast episode together, you were talking about there's gonna be 3 lockdowns, and that third one was gonna, and I told you this on our last episode too, that the third one was gonna be like the we're being played right now kind of thing. Yeah. And so they're talking about the current one now, and people just not falling for it anymore. They did too much to where they miscalculated people's intelligence, and now it's starting to backfire.
Yeah, I think there will be pushback in 2022. Probably in a big way.
Yeah, because it's like this. They said 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned to 2 years. I've been living my best life for 2 years, so I'm not afraid of anything at this point. As other people who've been living their life too, so they're like, it's the extreme measures of what is going through isn't warranted. So that's what's tripping everybody up. But I'm just in a rebellious stage now, guy. Like, out here, you can't shop or go in places without a mask. I just go in and I just smile at everybody, and I'll say, you guys can do the same thing too. You don't have to comply to anything. There's not a law. You're choosing to wear this, so you're choosing to be afraid.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. Almost all of it is voluntary compliance.
That's all it is, man.
In fact, and when it gets to the point of, let's say it gets to the point where it's not voluntary compliance. Well, it gets a very extreme, like, okay, you go to prison if you don't take this medical treatment, and then when you get to prison, they just strap you down and they give you this thing. Right. But you might say, well, hey, that's not voluntary. But all the steps that led to that before that were voluntary. The fact that they were able to get to the point where they could enforce this is because everybody voluntarily complied to all the in between steps. It's like let's say, mandates to be medicalized to work in a company. What are they trying to say in the US? Over 100 employees. I know it's going through the courts and everything, but it's just like, if everybody just said no, they just couldn't do it. But a certain number of people say, well, I can't quit my job. But if everybody says I'm quitting my job, then it's over. And so it is all it is voluntary when it comes down to it. But like your example about the about the shops, we have a nice farmers market here, and it's indoors now because it's gotten colder here in the Midwest. And I hadn't been to the indoor market since it opened indoors. And I went by the other day and saw this sign said masks required, and I thought, oh, I want to get my veggies, and I don't have a mask with me. I mean, I have one. I can't remember when I last used it. So I looked in, and everybody, it's like in a basement of a church, everybody had a mask on, 100%, all the vendors and everything like that. I said, fuck it, I'm going in.
He's going in, yeah.
I'm going in, and I was a little self-conscious.
You do, because you feel like they're judging you.
Yeah, I was a little self-conscious, and I walked through. And I was also conscious to be, expedient with my time. Looked around, kind of looked at the stall that had the stuff I want, nailed it, went over there, got the stuff. And then a couple of people came up to me, and I thought, uh-oh. And they just said hi, and I'm looking at them with a mask on, like, excuse me, who are you? Oh, yeah. Anyway, and then I just walked out, and I shared it with some friends, and they said, oh yeah. I mean, these are like my wake friends. And they said, well, we wore a mask because everybody knows, like, when I'm out of town, I don't do it, but here everybody knows me and this and that. And I said, yeah, you're giving in a way.
You're giving in.
Yeah. So anyway, so one of my friends went the next week. She didn't wear a mask, and somebody came up to her and said, oh, you need to have your mask. And she goes, yeah, I'm done here. I'm just leaving. It's just so. Just anybody that, like, when you go in the store in the UK there and you don't wear your mask, you're modeling it for somebody else. You're empowering somebody else. They're saying, hey,
exactly it.
He can do it. Maybe I could do it. And
you're giving them the courage to just say no. You just need that one person. You see that one person in the store who isn't doing it. It's like, well, I see that person walking around and they're not getting in trouble, because it's one of two things. You don't want to get in trouble, and you don't want to be judged, right? Because at our core, we want to be liked, and we want to be, accepted. So that's why people give in to wearing it. But if you see somebody, and you even see people with it underneath their nose, I'm like, look, just take the whole thing off at this rate cut. Just take it off. But like you said, it gives people the courage to say, hey, I'm not going to wear this. So last time I wore a mask was when I was on a plane. So, and I don't plan on wearing it ever again unless I have to on the plane. But that's the only way I'll wear that thing. I hate that diaper mask. It doesn't do anything. I hate that thing with passion.
I mentioned you're in the UK.
Yes.
I'm from the UK. I'm English, and you're American, and you're in the UK. And when I introduced you, I mentioned that you love to travel, travel the world. What's it like being in the UK? Okay, here's a question for you about the UK. Is there something that you like in the UK that you think Americans could learn from?
Yes. Politeness, one. Like, for example, in America, if you letting somebody go through, they don't say thank you. You probably get an evil look or something. But even if you letting somebody pass, they always put the hand up in the car just to say thank you. Or I even catch myself in a grocery store. Like, if somebody is before me walking, I'll stop and let them go. So that's just like politeness, and just that's the number one thing I would say. I hope I'm using correct politeness, or just just politeness all around. That's something Americans definitely need. And culture, I've noticed everyone. So, for example, in Chicago, you have your segregated areas. So you have like your black areas, Chinese, Mexican, blah blah blah. But in here, everybody's just commingling, and I think that's just so cool. It's like a diverse culture all existing in one. So I wish I could experience that in America. And just the culture. I personally like it. Being close to nature, just being by the sea is freaking amazing. I just encourage anybody, if you could spend just time away out your own country, just please do it. It shapes your perspective on everything. It's honestly amazing. One thing I will say though, last time when I left, when I came back, I realized the city has a lot of noise. My anxiety was like ringing through the roof when I came back the last time, because it was so much noise, and I was just getting it was terrible. So I do appreciate the quietness and the less light pollutions and stuff like that. So I think that's something America definitely needs to adopt.
Well, I mean, I've when I grew up in England, I lived mainly in the countryside, but
Love the
I have lived
countryside.
in London as well. So I
Countryside is
know,
amazing.
yeah, English countryside. It's a little bit English countryside is a different way. There's less sort of wild areas in England, but the countryside is molded, isn't it? It's just like
Yep.
hundreds of years of farming um,
You
and stone
appreciate it.
cottages and stone walls and
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's cool. You wouldn't have seen that anywhere. Even when I was in Cornwall, for example, you just see all these old stone houses, and it's just like feel like you went back in time, and everything is just slow, and it's beautiful. It's I love the countryside out here. It's just freaking beautiful.
Okay, now let's flip it. What do you think? What do you think people in the UK could learn from America? What things do you like in America that you don't have in the UK?
Americans have okay. I will say Americans have more. I'll say backbone. They're not afraid to speak their minds or just do it. They have like a more not an animal mentality, like rebellious mentality. Sometimes if something don't make sense, they're just not going to do it. Um, and I wish that people. I feel like out here you don't want to be judged, so you kind of comply instead of just like going against the grain. So that's one thing I've noticed. Just have more of a fuck it mentality. Cause like you mentioned earlier, we are the numbers. So if we say enough is enough at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I first came to America. I mean, I was first in Canada and then
Mm-hmm.
in the US. But there's the one phrase for me um, that really kind of showed me what America was about. And it was like, go for it.
Just
So
go
we
for
didn't
it.
have that expression when I was going up in England. It was like, go for it. You'd say,
Mm-hmm.
well, I want to hitchhike around the world, and go for it. I want to
Just
start a
do it.
business. Go for it.
Just do it, man. Just
And then
do
in
it. Nothing's
England, it's like, I want to do this. And they go, and they come up with
a
like 20
bunch of
reasons
excuses. Yep.
why you couldn't do it. And I've been back and forth. So I grew up in the UK. Then
Mm-hmm.
I went to university in Canada when I was 19. And then I was in North America. And I'd go back and forth for quite a few years, see my family. And then I was then I was in the US. And then I went back in the late 1990s to work in the UK. And I remember being in a meeting and putting forward some idea, and I just sort of
Yeah.
come from North America, and I just like the negativity. I'm going like, God, you guys, it's like inertia,
Yep.
inertia, but it's an older cultures. I've heard sometimes older cultures. There's a positive thing about the tradition, and there's
Mm-hmm.
also a heaviness about it
Mm-hmm.
that can slow things down. I think I remember. I mean,
100%.
things have changed a little bit now, but I remember I lived in Quebec in Canada, and there was a French woman
Ooh.
that I met there, and she was doing some research, like I think she was in Paris, and she wanted some document from the library, and she had to sort of write these letters to Monsieur le Directeur, and you'd wait 6 months to get a reply, and it was just
Sheesh.
all this formality and red tape, and I mean, I think technology has speeded things up in the older countries like Europe, but it's
Agreed.
still slower than here.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a uh, yeah, there's like a fluidity in America, things you can do fast. Like
Yeah.
if you want to start a business, you just have a few $100 and
Yep.
You go on and order a new computer, and it's shipped to you in 24 hours. Get internet connected, and
Yep.
uh, so I really noticed that. Even actually, the US is more fluid than Canada. Canada has a little bit of North American culture, and a
Okay.
little bit of, it has a lot of British influence and older. But
We all just got to take different tips and from each other. But
yeah, if I went back to the UK now, I'd probably be rude. People probably think I'm rude because I forgot. I found myself like, oh God, I didn't say thank you the other day. It's like, because like with my son, sometimes if he doesn't say please and thank you all the time, it really
yeah,
annoys me. Because when I grew up, if you didn't say
that's what
please and
you.
thank you,
Yeah, but it's just I guess it's just a reminder. It's just because I mean I've always been just thank you or just soft spoken, but it's ramped up a lot more where it's just like I guess manners, if you will. Because I
yeah,
grew up with my grandmother always had instilled that in me, but kind of intensified since I got out here. It's just little stuff, just showing kindness. I guess that's just really the and sometimes people's reactions too. It throws you off because they're just like shocked that you did something. Like it's like, oh, thank you, and it's like, oh, just being nice. Have a great day.
yeah. I send thank you cards to people here, and they're like, oh my God, that was so like amazing.
See, it's just a thoughtful act, and it's the little things, man. It's the little things.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. It's are there any other travels that have had a big impression on you, or are there places that you're
Yeah,
really looking forward to going to?
I went to Colorado twice this year. Hiked in the mountains and camped out in the mountains. That was freaking amazing. That's been a highlight of my life and year for sure. Being off the grid, no phone, microdosing on shrooms, and just seeing spaceships in the sky and just the mountains, and it was just that's been a huge part of my year too. So I'm grateful for that. I do want to travel more. Not sure where, but kind of just going where life takes me at this point, and we'll see what happens.
Wow, that's amazing. You did the camping in the mountains.
So cool, so cool. One of my best experiences. That was so cool.
So, can you tell me about the microdosing thing? Just because you
Yeah,
mentioned it a couple of times,
I
and
love
so
shrooms.
like I'm from a different generation, and look, I had my fun in back in the day. I
Hmm.
was born in 1960, late 70s, and so I had my fun and uh, different experimentations. And I'm not going to say anything here public for the US
I
government to
got
listen
you.
to what I've done,
Yeah,
not done.
yeah,
But yeah, I had my fun. So, but then I kind of learned transcendental meditation, and then I'm like, oh, I'm about keeping my nervous system clean,
hmm,
and I don't, I haven't partaken in any, fun since then.
yeah,
So I know, I mean, I see it on Twitter and stuff, so I have an idea what it is. But can you talk about just
yeah.
explain to me a little,
So
explain to the older
if
guy a
any
little bit what this is?
if anyone doesn't know what shrooms are, they're just psychedelics, right? Just plant medicine that's been around since the beginning of time. Well, I came across it in college, and then when I did it in a quantity, the first time I experienced was the concept of no time. So time is an illusion, right? But in that state, you were the creator in the infinite now moment. So I had an idea of like, wow, this is why we created this experience because I would be bored personally in that non-time just existing because there's nothing to do. You're not doing anything. So now I see why we created this reality. But the older I get, I don't do it much. It's maybe once a year. Have I done it this? Yeah, I've done it once this year. So yeah, this will be my second time. But it's a medicine. It's just I go in it with a purpose. I'm not doing it just to sit on the couch and just and just I'm the universe. Like, I mean, you can do that too, but going it with an intention. Like, for example, myself and Chelsea, we had did it 2 years ago, And one of my intentions was just to tap into my inner child and, just help myself heal in certain aspects. So, and then certain experiences happening when my heart was feeling heavy, and then I'm crying, I'm releasing, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and what I meant by the word microdose, so you can take a good quantity and you just sitting there tripping and you seeing different veils and different realities and stuff like that. Um, but for me, when I say microdose, I take like a small bit and I'll make some tea and I'll just sip the tea and eat the mushrooms, and then whatever my intention is, which in this case would be working on my book, whatever I'm channeling or whatever messages need to come out, or what I need to realize by myself during this process, writing a book, will come out. But whatever if anyone is thinking about microdose, taking shrooms for the first time, to do your research is honestly beautiful. Um, just make sure you're in the right environment. Make sure you're around positive people if you do want to do it around positive people, and just have a purpose for it. Just don't do it just to do it. Do it for a reason, because it taps you into yourself, but things also come out that you've been suppressing too. So you can't hide from yourself forever. Because some stuff will pop up that you was not expecting to face about yourself. I'm a big shroom um, lover, so probably will stop after a while, but I don't do it just to do it. I do it with an intent. So after I work on this book, probably won't do it for a while, to be honest, because I don't have a purpose with tripping at this point in my life.
Well, that's yeah, that's very interesting.
I've done a lot of things in my life, but shrooms is my definitely my go-to.
Well, when I was in Jamaica, when I was young, there was like a little hut you would go to, and
Yeah.
she'd have tea. You just have a tea, and then you take the
Hmm.
tea, and things would change.
That was that magic tea. I'm telling you, man. That was that magic tea.
But there, it was great.
Personally.
It was beautiful. You know, the palm trees and the ocean and everything like that. Like the environment being nature. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I have heard from friends that use various plant medicines, like
Hmm.
ayahuasca and things like that. I have heard people have had good experiences in helping them heal addictions and really
Hmm.
kind of
Thousand percent.
chronic psychological. However, I would say that there's also I know in the town I live, I know there are some young people have had very bad experiences,
Yeah.
and I would say that, well, it's probably not just the one of it was the ayahuasca. There were other influences like a
Right.
negative mentor, somebody trying to control the person involved,
Yep.
and things like that. But I have seen people sort of wrecked by it as well. So, I mean, I have an open mind, so I'm just kind of curious. I
Oh
was just
yeah.
curious, and I think like what you said about being knowledgeable and and having the proper guidance and so forth. I'm not particularly attracted to it at this stage of my life.
Hmm.
But for example, if I wanted to try ayahuasca, I'd rather go to
Like a
Peru
shaman,
and
like
be with
practitioner.
somebody that's that he's 10th generation and he's
Exactly.
really
Exactly.
experienced, and
Versus
not
just
some
doing it by yourself and you
or
just like,
some guy in New York who thinks
yeah.
that he's the shaman.
No, everything, because I mean, even if you drink, if you're around negative people or a negative environment, you're gonna feel that, right?
Yeah.
And just what's your intention? How was your mindset before you took it? Right. That's gonna be a huge factor. This is if anyone's like just want to do research on this documentary on Netflix. I think it's like Have a Good Trip or Have a Nice Trip. It's a really good
Great title.
informal, yeah, it's a really good informal psychedelic like fun lighthearted documentary that is introducing and just talking about it and giving you knowledge, but it's not for everybody. I have people who's like, whoa, I don't want to do that. I mean, whatever you call it to be honest with you. If some people they're not called to do it, I'm heading to a point where I don't really want to do it anymore. So just however you want to do it.
But isn't this the secret to everything in life? It's all about self-discernment. It's all
Yep.
about checking within. Is this the right
Yep.
thing? The right thing for me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, like the same with food. Just because this regime works for somebody, does it work for you? I know people have
Exactly.
great experiences being vegan. I know people that
It's like
wreck
that
their
doesn't work
health,
for
they
my
wreck their
body.
health doing vegan, and
Yeah.
so it's all it's personal, and yeah,
And it's to each his
and it
own. Like,
changes too. I mean, I've done different things with food throughout my life. Been mainly lacto vegetarian, then
yeah.
being I'm flexitarian now. So
Wait, what's a flexitarian?
oh,
Because
I invented that. I should brand it. I should put a
yeah, you
trademark on it.
should. You
It's
should.
flexitarian. It means you eat whatever you want. No,
That's where I'm at right now.
it means just just eat what feels right to me.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I mainly only buy plant-based food that I eat at home,
Okay.
but then I do go out and have some tasty Thai chicken sometimes, and um,
Are you a curry guy?
I
You
mean,
like
yeah.
curry?
Pardon?
Do you like curry? Are you a
Oh
curry guy?
yeah.
Indian curry guy?
Well, you're
Oh,
in Curryland, aren't you? You're in
I'm
Curryland now.
I'm living
You're
my
in
best
heaven,
life
aren't
right
you?
now.
You're in heaven.
I love me some onion bhajis, man. I love me some onion bhajis.
Yeah, a friend of mine is hosting somebody from London at the moment, and they said, "Oh yeah, he loves curry." I said, "Yeah, don't take him for curry." Just, but yeah, I was talking to the friend the other day, and she's a cook, and she said, "Yeah, it's like nobody cooks Indian food in England because why would you just
You can just order it.
you just
You
don't."
just
It's
literally,
brilliant. It's brilliant.
and it's
It's just
cheap too.
yeah,
It's a
I know.
curry
It's
place
just
in
brilliant.
Chicago. You don't have, I think it's only like two or three places in Chicago when I was looking for curry places, but it's expensive, man. Like out here, I can get a decent. If it was just me eating, I can get a curry meal for like 10 pounds and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
great.
But
In
that
Chicago,
it's Devon Street, right, in Chicago, where
yeah,
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 the South Indian in Devon Street in Chicago
yep,
are really good.
yep.
Um, yeah, a friend of mine who passed away just earlier this year,
Oh
and
man,
I used to visit him in Chicago. It was kind of a getaway weekend for me, and
oh,
we used to go out. We used to go out boating on the lake, and we were out boating
oh, that's so
all
cool.
for hours, and we came back and we'd hardly eaten. We were famished, and we went to Devon Street and had like we over ordered. Just you order like about 7 different dishes, and
It's got to be done.
yeah, it's so that is good. But England is the bomb for curry. I'm jealous.
Hey, I had to slow down on the roast dinner. I will say, last time I was out here, I put on so much weight. So came back to Chicago, dropped all that weight, started lifting heavily. And then this time when I came back, I'll stick to like or one roast meal a month. I can't at that rate. I'm gonna get fat as hell at this rate.
Yeah, you mentioned lifting, and
Mm-hmm.
I follow you on Twitter, and I know you talk about a lot about your workouts and lifting.
Mm-hmm.
How is that working for you, and how's that changing your life?
It's same concept with even if it's not lifting, let's say you're working out and you're losing weight, you're being shown on a physical level that you can't deny. If I do this consistently, I will see results. So if you take that same mindset and apply it with anything, it's going to be the same thing. So it taught me mental discipline. It taught me that you do something consistent enough, there will be a result. And also, it's therapeutic, to be honest with you. We have so much stagnant energy in us. And if you're not active, the energy is, trapped inside. And, that's how depression can, pop up again for you. And it's just therapeutic for me, honestly, God. Like I love lifting. It's a release for me. And it's just, it's another something else I'm trying to obtain. So now I want just like peak physical health. Like I just want to be that buff, chiseled guy now and going into my 30s, if I'm being honest. So I've been just like I'm consistent with podcasts. I lift 3 times a week. I've been lifting for like 5.5 months now. And this a lifestyle now. So even I've never missed a day of lifting. And if I do think like you have your mind, you have your thought like, "Oh, I don't feel like going to the gym," but it's a non-negotiable. You can rest when you're done, but you feel so much better about yourself afterwards, and it's a confidence boost. And I love it, man. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, anything to do to get in your body. It's so important to get in your body right now.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's like the energy's coming in, whatever you want to call it, the light frequencies are coming in.
Yeah,
It's just doing something physical to integrate it.
got
Um,
to. You need your sun. You need your
I'm doing
physical
this thing
exercise.
called Zen swinging at the moment.
Did you talk about that before?
Yeah, somebody on
Okay,
Twitter, somebody on Twitter shared it, and it's been life changing for me because
talk about that.
I have some certain issues with my body. You know, I've been through life. My body's been battered a bit here and there,
Mhm.
and you know, some things I can't do. So the Zen swinging's been, but now I can do a lot more things since I've been doing the Zen swinging. It's really amazing. You
So
can
what?
look it up.
So
It's on YouTube. There's a video that's about 10 minutes long.
Zen swinging. Okay,
Yeah, and you can look at it.
I'm gonna
And
check that out for sure. Because you
but it
mentioned that
really,
before.
yeah, it's a very
Zen.
simple exercise and very inward. It moves all your spine, and
I love that.
it's best in the summer. We have a little reservoir we can swim in here. I go on the beach and put my feet in the sand and do it
Oh,
in
that's
front of the sun in the
beautiful.
morning.
Oh,
But
that's
once it got
beautiful.
cold, now it's like you can do
Er,
5 minutes a day, but I'll do 20 minutes, and it's like 4 or 5 reggae songs, and
I love
it
that.
really works well with reggae. So
But that's what you're doing. You're moving your body, and
yeah,
that's exercise,
yeah,
and you're being active. So even stuff like even if somebody's going for a walk or for a run, that's physical exercise. You're
yeah,
exerting physical energy that's being trapped. So I encourage
yeah,
anyone, even if it's just walking around the block, you don't have to like go full commando, but even if it's just walking around the block, once a day, you'll feel so good about yourself afterwards, honestly.
yeah. Like you were talking about consistency with the podcasts. I'm doing the 100 days Zen Swing Challenge, and I skipped my first day. I think I've done about 2 months,
Let's go.
and there was just one day I skipped it, and I just, okay, you got to get it. And then you go, oh, well, I can skip again, and now you got to
You
get back on the
the
wagon.
the mind, guy, like the mind will literally give you a million excuses. Oh, my body's tired. Well, you can't use that excuse when you're going to work. So you got to kind of have that same mentality with these things too.
Yeah,
Like
one
I
time
can't.
I was doing it like 1 a.m. in the morning just to get it in there.
But you got it
Um,
done. You got it done. That's all that matters.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well, I'd like to ask a closing question,
Yeah,
and it's kind
it's
of a
been
very,
fun.
very expansive question, and it's
Throw it at
yeah,
me.
your message for humanity. What is your message for humanity, Richard?
Guy. Okay, before I answer that question, so I know I asked that to my um guest. So what I'm doing, I'm taking I'm gonna do this today. I'm gonna start doing it every Monday and Wednesday now. I'm taking those messages I ask people and I'm gonna just like make little clips and post it on TikTok and YouTube and just make a little series of that. So it's kind of crazy you asked me that question. So I need to work on that today to get that out. But what's my message to humanity during this time? It's so weird being asked questions. I'm usually the one that's asking questions. Um, what's my message to humanity during this time? I would say deplug from the media. Um, do what feels right. Honor yourself. Um, take your power back. And if it's if it's one book I would recommend reading that would shape your life forever, it's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. If you can understand the power of the mind and you will understand how others know of this information and they hijack our minds for us, you would take your power back and realize that you're powerful. So that would be my message to humanity during this time. Take your power back. That's my message. Take your power back.
Okay, folks, listen to those words. Beautiful, beautiful words. Amazing. You're a remarkable young man, Richard.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
And I love what you're doing. You've been inspiration to people and getting yourself out there and expressing yourself. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it all takes you.
And same here, God. I'm grateful for our friendship and that we were able to do this. And I'm honored to be on your show. So this is really cool. This is really cool. So thank you for having me on as well.
How can people find you if they haven't seen you before?
I am on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just type in Sunday Sessions with Rich. You're gonna see a bald guy who's meditating in the air with a orange Goku Dragon Ball Z looking jumpsuit on. I drop episodes every Sunday. And yeah, like and subscribe. And if you want to be on the show, just literally reach out to me, and we can make something happen.
And on Twitter?
Oh, Twitter. I am at give me 1 second because you have to type this in specifically. I am at _ Mr. Manifest. You can find me on Twitter at _ Mr. Manifest.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Richard.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This is fun. Anytime.
You're welcome.